once again to Senior Focus. I'm your host, Bill Adams. Senior Focus is a show designed for adults over the age of about 50 or so. And we bring you guests each couple times a month, hopefully that you could use the information in your daily life. We want to thank Greg Roten, who is with Armstrong's Channel 20 and 100. He brings the show to you, puts it on air. Then also we want to thank Keith Kaiser from the Mill Creek Metro Parks, and we come from the beautiful Davis Visitor Center at Fellows Riverside Gardens. Today we're going to be talking with Judge Robert Rusu. He is the probate judge in Mahoning County, and I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And we're going to talk about the work of the probate court and all the different things that the court does, and then later in the show we'll talk specifically maybe about some things that may apply more to older adults.
Sure.
So why don't we start with the basics of, where's the court located and how do people reach you?
Well, the court's located in downtown Youngstown in the county court building, which is 120 Market Street, and that's right at the base of the bridge in Youngstown. And the court is located on the first floor. So as soon as you walk in the front doors, you turn left, and the court is right in the first left-hand corner of the building.
Okay. And what's the phone number?
Phone number is 330-740-2310. You can also get us at our website at www.mahoningcountyprobate.org, I believe, or .gov, I'm sorry, .gov.
Yeah, G-O-V.
Yeah, forget the G-O-V, that's right.
Now, with the probate court, again, there are a number of different, jurisdictions, the word maybe, for what you do. Would you, talk about some of the, maybe the things you do that people might not know about, or, start with the ones people do know about?
Sure. Well, that's the unique thing about the probate court. It's a court of limited jurisdiction, and it's a specialized court, but it's pretty encompassing for a lot of situations that we handle. And I've been telling people that it handles cases that you will deal with, or most people will deal with at some point in their lives. Mm-hmm. So many clients or many residents of Mahoning County may never go to criminal court. We hope that's not the case. They may not ever go to a civil court or a county court, but you will probably end up at the probate court. The probate court does such things as marriage license. Right. You have to get a marriage license to be married in the state of Ohio, and if you want to do that in Mahoning County, you have to come to my court and get a marriage license. Mm-hmm. If you would like to adopt someone to bring into your family, whether that be a foreign adoption, bringing somebody from a foreign country and adopting here in the United States, or somebody that's in the children's services system, or maybe somebody, a neighbor or a relative that you want to bring that child into your home, you have to come to the probate court for adoptions.
Okay.
With seniors, we handle estate administrations. Unfortunately, when people pass away, they have assets that need to be distributed per their will or per a testamentary trust, and the court is there to administer that, to make sure the decedent's wishes are properly followed, make sure that the creditors are paid, and make sure that the money gets to the beneficiaries that the decedent wanted it to go to. Mm-hmm. We also do guardianships. If somebody gets sick while they're alive, they have Alzheimer's, they get dementia, Parkinson's, and they can't handle their own personal affairs, we have to get guardianship through the probate court, and our court oversees that process to make sure that those individuals are properly protected, to make sure that the money is there to pay their bills, pay creditors, and then to be there for the future, that when they do eventually pass away, it's distributed pursuant to their will. Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to say, before the show we were talking a little bit about the adoptions, I'm sorry.
Right.
And you were saying there's a day coming up in November.
Yes.
Special day for that.
Right. The whole month of November is adoption month in the United States. And the probate court, we wanted to celebrate. So at the beginning of the month, November 3rd, we're having a National Adoption Day. We're going to have some finalizations of 2 adoptions. Mm-hmm. We're going to bring some families in that have already been adopted, have already gone through the process. We have Children's Services that conducts a lot of the placements of the children for adoptions here in Mahoney County,
Sure.
Northeast Ohio Adoption Services. We're going to bring all those services together, have a little bit of a celebration, talk about the adoption process, talk about the children that are still in our system in Mahoney County waiting for permanent families, and just try to bring awareness that there are children out there that need permanent homes. So it's going to be a nice celebration on November 3rd. It's going to be at the courthouse. It's going to be up in the domestic relations court room.
Okay.
Because my courtroom is a little small, and we're expecting a lot of people. So
good. Okay,
we
good.
asked Judge Smith if we could borrow her courtroom for the day, and she was most gracious to allow us to do that. And we're going to have a balloon launch after the adoption ceremony, so it should be a very nice day. Between 10 a.m. and noon p.m. At the courthouse, and we look forward to everyone being there if you can.
Well, I was just thinking that that could apply to some seniors, because a lot of times now, unfortunately, the grandparents become sort of the parent now for children.
Yes.
You know, the parents themselves have gotten into, you know, maybe it's substance abuse, or they're in jail, or there's some problem. So I've read a lot about grandparents becoming surrogate
Caregivers.
parents, caregivers. So does that happen occasionally where the,
It does.
Yeah.
It happens more often than you would think, unfortunately. In this day and age, we do have individuals that, pass away at a young age,
Right.
whether that's through an accident or some self-induced problem that they may have. And so we have the guardianship for minor children that the individuals can proceed with, or they can go the more permanent route for the adoption and actually adopt that child, bring them into their family, and then their grandchild now becomes their child. So it's a different family relationship, and in the eyes of the court and the eyes of the law, they are a different status. They are a child status rather than a grandchild status, and they would inherit if the grandparents died without a will. They would inherit just like a regular born child would.
and this is all the type of work you're describing with, whether it's guardianships, estates, adoptions. This is the kind of work you were doing before becoming judge.
Correct.
Yeah.
I just became the judge on July 8th, 2014. Governor Kasich appointed me to fill out the unexpired term of the previous judge. And so I was practicing probate law for 21 years. And I did just about every type of probate case you can think of. We did adoptions, we did guardianships, we did estate administrations, name changes. It's one of the things I forgot to mention that the court does. We do change people's names quite frequently. And so I was very familiar with the court, and that's why I applied for the position when it was available. I knew I had the background and the wherewithal to run the court. And so it was something that I have a passion doing. I love the probate court. I've never practiced in any other court. I didn't go up to domestic relations court. I didn't go into any of the county courts. I strictly stayed in probate court because that's where my focus was. That's where my love was. And I'm fortunate enough to be the judge and moving that court forward. It's very exciting. It's a privilege.
We were talking again a little bit before the show about maybe some of the newer things that might be happening, or plans, with the court.
Right.
You were talking about like some of the video work where people could maybe participate in, well, you could describe what it is, basically.
Sure. It's basically it's technology.
Okay.
We know technology is just expanding our world leaps and bounds with our cell phones, with our computers, and so the court understands that, and we understand that it can save people money. We understand it can be very convenient. So we want to do things that make it easy for our individuals, our citizens, to access the court. So number one, we're looking into the e-filing. To file documents, so you could view documents online, and that's in process at the Mahoney County right now. The commissioners and the clerk of courts, they've started a process where we will be doing e-filing and start implementing that process. Now that's going to be a several-year project in place, but we're excited to be taking place of that and taking part of that. The other thing that we're doing that's going to happen here next week, we're going to have our first video conference. And the video conference is actually a collaboration between the Trumbull County Probate Court and Judge Thomas Swift and my court. Judge Swift asked if we could do a video conference. He has a hearing that's scheduled next week where the attorney and the individual that's petitioning the court, they can't get up to Trumbull County to attend the hearing. Okay. So we started collaborating and saying, hey, how could we accommodate the parties? They're in Mahoning County, and so we're going to set up a video conference in my courtroom that will directly feed into Judge Swift's courtroom, and the parties will be able to be in Mahoning County, not have to travel to Trumbull County, but Judge Swift can still conduct the hearing. Okay. And in his docket moves forward. They don't have to postpone the hearing. The attorney and the petitioner that have to go to the hearing, they don't have to bill for their time, for travel time. Right. It can all be done quicker and a little easier, and we're looking forward to that. That's going to be next, I believe it's next Thursday.
And you were talking about, again, before the show a little bit about how this could apply in the future. You know, theoretically, you could have people maybe even out of state or, you know, other towns. Correct.
Probate court deals with families, deals with family issues, and they're sensitive family issues. And if there's a situation happening with your mom or your dad or your aunt and your uncle, and you want to be part of it, you want to know what's going on, well, you would have to travel down to the court hearing and physically attend right now. Right. Well, in the future, if this video conference works like we believe it's going to work, you may be able to log on and view the court hearing as it's taking place. So it's like you're there, but you're sitting at your home, maybe in California or New York or Michigan, and you can still feel and hear what's actually happening in that court proceeding without having to officially go there or physically go there.
Well, that makes me think about, again, one of the major topics, I think, for people who are over 50. A lot of folks in my age range are caregivers for older adults, for their parents or, you know, aunts, uncles, whoever. And a lot of the folks in this area have moved away, you know, the sons and daughters. And so you've got a lot of older adults that are here. And maybe you could talk about the process if people become you know, disabled or they're older and ill and can't manage their own affairs. I mean, that brings up the whole, you know, topic of guardianships.
Sure. The biggest thing that I can tell the residents of Mahoning County, and I told my clients when I was in private practice, pre-plan. Do things before it becomes a necessity. One, it saves time. Two, it saves money. And three, it makes the life for your family members much easier. The court's there to protect you if you don't do anything pre-planning wise. Right. If something happens unexpectedly, you need a guardianship, you're in a car accident, you're unconscious, you need somebody to pay your bills, we're there with that guardianship to protect you, to put somebody in that place to make sure your affairs are taken over. But if you have the wherewithal to go sit with a professional, your attorney, your accountant, even your medical professional, and get these things done ahead of time, documents like financial power of attorney, documents like a last will and testament, a living will, healthcare power of attorney. Those documents are all documents that you can set up prior to your incapacity, so you may not ever need to get the court involved because you've done the pre-planning, you put the people in place that you believe are going to handle your affairs in your best interest.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and unfortunately, and this has been a constant theme of my show, is to stress these documents.
Oh, absolutely.
And to do that pre-planning because, you know, when you don't, then unfortunately, again, it falls to the court or the attorneys and the, you know, professionals who are involved, but they don't know your wishes. You know, that's where you come in. Actually, correct. You have to try to, you know, piece together, well, what would they have wanted? But that's right. Tough. Right?
That is tough. That's one of our jobs that as a judge and the magistrates down at the court, we have to try to determine after the fact what were the wishes of the ward or the decedent if we don't have any documents to follow. Right. And sometimes we get it right, sometimes we may get it wrong. We don't know for sure because right. The person's not able to tell us. So we try to do what's best for the individual, we try to do no harm, and we try to do the safest, most efficient thing that we can do to protect the individual. the documents, when they're executed, speak so much in volumes because it's in black and white. We can see it. We can look back and say, this is what they wanted, this is how they wanted this situation handled, and it's much easier for families. They may not agree with it, but once they see it in black and white, they typically go along with it because they understand their loved one took the time to put it in writing.
And again, because, a lot of times you have multiple siblings, you have sister or daughters and sons, and, I'm sure you occasionally get into battles within families of, this applies not only for guardianships, but I guess for estates, for wills and things like that. What did mom or dad really mean? And, she meant to do this. And
Sure.
So.
Well, we see that even with guardianships, even before mom passes away or dad passes away. One sibling wants to take care of mom a certain way.
Right.
And then there'll be other siblings that say, no, mom didn't want that, or dad didn't want that. So you get family conflict.
Right.
Most of the time, fortunately, that's worked out once you sit down with some professionals and attorneys and you come to some common ground. But sometimes it has to go to a court hearing to decide what is in mom's best interest. Did mom want to live at home with a caregiver? Did she or can she live at home independently, even though she has some early stages of Alzheimer's or dementia? And we have to try to determine what's in the person's best interest to make sure they're properly taken care of, because that's our most important goal, is to take care of that individual, that citizen.
If there's somebody out there now who's a caregiver and, sort of informal, maybe there's not the formal declarations that should be done, but do you have some suggestions for, and I'm thinking about like finances. If they're, taking care of a senior and somehow, paying for things, maybe they should be documenting what they do.
Absolutely.
Is that very important? I would
That's
think,
most important,
yeah.
because I always told my clients in private practice that you have to assume that somebody's going to question you after the fact.
Right.
While it's taking place, nobody cares because mom's being taken care of, everything's fine. But then when mom passes away, people start looking and say, where's my inheritance? Where did it go?
Right.
So they're going to start questioning, what did you do with mom's money? Mm-hmm. So if you're a caregiver and you're being paid to take care of a loved one, the best thing to do is get a care contract. Set it up with that parent ahead of time, mm-hmm. before they become sick or before they become incapacitated, and clearly define what you're going to be paid, how you're going to be paid, and that way when you do start performing the services, you keep detailed records. Right. And I tell people, keep a log, get a notebook and keep a log.
Receipts.
And receipts, absolutely. Yeah. If you pay any grocery bills or electric bills or doctor bills, you get receipts for everything, because somebody is going to question you down the road. Right. Whether it be the probate court, whether it be a brother or a sister, an aunt and uncle, possibly even public assistance Medicaid, our job and family services. They have a right, if you're asking for that loved one to go on public assistance benefits, they want to know what happened to that money 5 years before something happened to it.
Right.
And so they go back 5 years and they want to see what happened. So if you can come with a detailed notebook with receipts, it makes it much easier, and then you're protected after the fact. So if somebody questions you and says, you didn't do this right, you have your documentation that keeps you in the clear and in good graces with the court and
right.
with your family members.
And you're working not only, again, we've been focusing on the senior issues, senior people over 60 or whatever, but you're also working with disabled folks, maybe through the the Developmental Disabilities Board.
Yes, absolutely.
Kind of yeah.
Yes, the probate court handles guardianships for disabled individuals, developmentally delayed. We also handle minor settlements when minor children get in car accidents. They have to come to the court, and those settlements have to be pre-approved by the court before a parent can accept the settlement from an insurance company.
Okay.
If they're in a car accident, or if a doctor harms them in a medical surgery and medical malpractice. the probate judge appoints members to our Developmental Disabilities Board.
Okay.
Just like I do for the Mill Creek Park Board.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about
Mill
that,
Creek
but
Park,
yeah, here we are, yeah.
We're here in beautiful Fellows Riverside Garden, and the Park Board that oversees the operation, I appoint the Park Board members for that. So
Right.
the probate judge is it's a very important position because it handles so many facets that deal with so many situations in Mahoney County and citizens, not to mention private foundations and private trusts that are under the control of the probate court that handles civic responsibilities and makes distributions for things in our community.
Oh, charitable.
Charitable, yes.
Okay.
We have charitable trust under our control that we have to make sure that the decedent's wish that set this trust up years ago, maybe 50, maybe 75, 80 years ago, they had a specific intention for their monies to be used for a certain civic purpose or special situation, and it's my job to make sure that that is complied with to the letter of the document.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe the staff of the probate court? I'm thinking of, I know there are investigators maybe that go out on some like the guardianship things, but just some of the overall staff, the people that work at the court.
Sure. There's a total of 14 full-time employees down at the probate court, and they're super efficient, and they take pride in what they do. Most of the staff down there are clerks. They work and they process the paperwork that's filed. They docket it. They scan the paperwork and the pleadings. Everything that comes into the court has to be documented for future. Sure. So we will scan it digitally, but we will also microfilm it, so it could be available later down the road. In case the computer doesn't work, we have microfilm that you can enlarge on a lighted format and blow up.
Right.
We also have 3 magistrates that handle cases on a day-to-day basis. The judge couldn't handle all the cases himself. We process roughly around 2,500 cases a year.
Oh, wow.
And then there are still cases that go on after that year period. So we have magistrates that hear some of the day-to-day things, the name changes, the simple guardianships. The judge typically handles the more serious cases, the adoptions. I love to hear the adoption cases. And then we also have court investigators. We have a court investigator, a court investigator that is, he's not a full-time investigator, but he's used as needed, that when somebody starts a guardianship process or we can't find a ward, somebody hasn't filed their annual report like they're supposed to, we'll send out this individual. He's a retired policeman that's had special training, and he'll talk to the ward, try to locate them for us, and report back to the court how they're doing, what the situation is. When we start guardianship processes, the guardian, the ward, is entitled to notice, entitled to know what's going on.
Right.
So that investigator will go out and give the rights and responsibilities. He'll serve him with papers and kind of explain what's going on to the ward, why someone is trying to get guardianship for them.
And then the ward has the right to an attorney.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
Correct.
To represent them, yeah.
Right. The ward has the opportunity to seek legal counsel on their own. If they can't afford it, I can appoint an attorney for them. They have a right to get an expert evaluation, and if they can't afford that, I can order a separate expert evaluation. But that guardianship process is it's very detailed in how it has to start. When somebody believes an individual is under a disability and is in need of a guardian, they have to get a doctor's statement called a statement of expert evaluation.
Okay.
That the doctor states that I have evaluated this individual, the proposed ward, that I think he's in need of a guardianship because of these reasons. And the doctor has to be specific. He has to say they're suffering from some disability,
Right.
and I believe a guardianship is needed or not needed. Once we have that form, the proposed guardian fills out a paperwork, an application to appoint themselves, and then that is what triggers the investigator to go out to the home or wherever the ward is living to do his investigation and then report back to our court. So when we have the hearing, we have a full fact pattern in front of us. We have a doctor's report, we have my independent investigator's report, and then we'll have family and friends there to testify whether a guardianship is needed or not needed. And then we make our decision as a magistrate or as the judge whether this guardianship should go forward or not.
And the guardian, if I understand, has to be in the state of Ohio?
Correct.
Okay.
To serve as a guardian for someone, you have to live in the state of Ohio. There are certain exceptions if you're nominated under a power of attorney,
Okay.
or nominated under a will. You can serve as a guardian if you're nominated in those documents outside the state of Ohio, but that's usually very rare.
And again, maybe another good reason, though, to plan ahead, as you were talking about before, it's better if you've sort of tried to set your wishes on paper rather than you have to start from scratch.
Leave it up to the court, correct.
Right.
Yes, you may have several children, and we all know you love your children equally, but you may be in tune with one child more than the other ones.
Sure.
And you want them to be able to handle your finances and maybe one of the other children to handle the medical decisions. So if you can put that in writing, it makes it easier for us as the court, and we can just simply implement that, nominate them as the guardian of the person, which handles day-to-day decisions, or guardian of the estate, which handles the finances. And then we have those people that you wanted in place rather than us putting somebody that we think is the best person for you.
Sure. One quick question, we only have a minute or two left, but do you still do the work with people who are mentally ill, who maybe have to be sent to treatment?
Yes, those are called civil commitments.
Okay.
And actually, there's just been an overhaul in the law here in September of 2014, last month. It's Senate Bill 43. It now authorizes, rather than hospitalization, if the individual doesn't need hospitalized, I, as a judge, can order outpatient treatment for that individual.
Okay.
And they have to follow this outpatient treatment program. And they have to comply with that, and if they don't, then they're subject to sanctions of the court.
Okay.
This has been something that the legislature has been working on, and they felt it was important. But we still do have the civil commitments that we have, and if you have somebody that is going decompensating and not taking their medication and having hallucinations, they can come to the court, fill out an affidavit, and then we can determine whether they need to be hospitalized or not.
And last question, again, how would the people contact the court, and where are you at?
They can contact the court at our phone number at 330-740-2310, or they can actually stop down at the probate court at 120 Market Street, and that's Youngstown, Ohio, 44501.
Well, thank you, Judge.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we've been talking with Judge Robert Rusu. He is the probate judge for Mahoning County. Again, you're watching Senior Focus. We come to you a couple times each month. Thanks to Greg Roten from Armstrong Channel 20, who produces the show, and also thanks to Keith Kaiser from Mill Creek Metro Parks, allows us to use the beautiful Davis Visitor Center. Till next time, thanks for watching.